So you're thinking about taking an international assignment to Switzerland? Here's what you need to know before making your decision. The Expatriate's Cultural Guide to Switzerland. This presentation has been created by the following cultural experts: Maria D'Angio, Matthew Naiman, Kellyanne Karcich, Shannon Greger, and Zan Farooq. In the first segment of this program, two former expats, Matt, who loved his times overseas, and Zan, who had a different take, will provide commentary throughout the first half of the presentation. Before we get into some first-hand accounts from our expats, let's take a look at how Switzerland's culture came to be. Unlike many other countries, Swiss culture is very fragmented. People identify more with the surrounding countries of France, Germany, and Italy, rather than embracing a national culture of their own. Amalgam of Italian, French, and German customs give us the fabric for what many of Switzerland's citizens refer to as Swiss-ness. So what is Swiss-ness? The ness is made up of all the cultural nuances that are easily observed at first glance. Part 1. Explicit and hidden cultural elements. Cultural elements such as food, religion, art, sports, etiquette, sites, language, and literature provide a relevant snapshot of what you should expect to see as early as on the way to your hotel. While this is not a fully inclusive list of Switzerland's explicit and hidden cultural characteristics, let's take a quick look at some of these key cultural aspects that are completely independent to Switzerland. Pretty much, you can expect to find all of the same food in Switzerland that you would in the United States or in other areas of Europe. However, one food that you may encounter that is unique to the nation is Bircher muesli, an item often served for lunch.
I remember just going into the hotel, right when I checked in, getting this complimentary, whatever it is called, Bircher muesli. Oh my god, man, so delicious. I made sure to get the chef to give me a recipe to give to my wife for when I get home.
Yeah, I always considered myself an experienced traveler, culturally sensitive. Well, coming to Switzerland, when I came across the Swiss dish, Ricci Mussolini, I couldn't make heads or tails of it. Was it a side dish? Was it a dessert? Well, it was made abundantly clear to me that this is actually lunch. This is an acceptable full lunch in Switzerland. Well, try explaining that to my stomach.
Just in case one of your Swiss colleagues is interested in art, the two artists that you definitely should know are Albert Giacometti and Paul Klee. Both of these artists are well known in Switzerland and are fair game for everyday conversation with business elites. During your international assignment, you may want to take some personal time to soak up the exquisite scenery of Switzerland. Some recommendations are Lake Matterhorn, Switzerland's only national park in the canton of Graubünden, Zurich, Geneva, and Lucerne.
While in Switzerland, there has to be at least one thing you go and see other than doing your business operations. And for me, the one thing you really need to go see is the Alps. They are possibly the most beautiful mountains on this planet.
The city of Zurich, pretty good, except if you want to go out to eat. Very large wait time, with the only saving grace being, in Switzerland, they've got a larger than average plane.
Because Switzerland is divided into 3 separate subcultures, there is no universally spoken language in the nation. However, German is by far the most widely spoken language in Switzerland. 19 of the country's 26 cantons are predominantly German-speaking. French is spoken in the western part of the country, primarily in Geneva, Jura, Neuchâtel, and Vaud. Italian is spoken in Ticino and in southern cantons. Romanish is a language with Latin roots and is spoken by only 0.5% of the total Swiss population.
Parlez-vous français?
If religion is an important aspect of your life, Switzerland will not stand in your way. There is no state religion for the country, and the freedom of religion is guaranteed to all people in Switzerland. Some of the cantons do recognize certain religions, in all instances being the Catholic Church or the Swiss Reformed Church. When we say that cantons recognize religion, we mean that some tax money is used to fund the churches, but the cantons do not obligate anybody to practice any religion. European football, or soccer, as North Americans call it, is by far the most popular sport in Europe, and Switzerland is no exception. European football dominates sports reports on television, radio, and in newspaper. Ice hockey is the second most common sport for men in Switzerland. Both men and women have leagues for football and hockey. However, male sports gain much more media attention.
So a few of my colleagues and I, we caught an ice hockey game, and that was one of the most entertaining things I have ever seen. Since it is so big over in Switzerland, it was a drunken night to remember.
Ice hockey, soccer. All right. How about football, baseball? Where's that, Switzerland?
The etiquette of the Swiss is similar to surrounding nations as well as the United States. Some important things to remember include shake hands with everyone present, men, women, and children, at business or social meetings. Shake hands again when leaving. Use last names and appropriate titles until specifically invited by your Swiss hosts or colleagues to use their first name. Academic and professional titles are used frequently. First names are reserved for family and close friends. Do not point your index finger to your head. It is seen as an insult. The business climate is very conservative. Meetings are generally impersonal, brisk, orderly, planned, and task-oriented. It is not acceptable to call a Swiss business person at home unless there is an emergency. Spouses are generally included in business dinners. If salt and pepper are not on the table, do not ask for it. These are just a few of the unspoken rules of the Swiss, and not in any sense a complete and inclusive list. Part 2. Dimensional Analysis. So now that you have a general idea of Swissness, how did these cultural nuances come to be? To provide a deeper understanding, we turn to our good friends Hofstede and Jesselin's dimensional analysis of Swiss culture. First, we will begin with Hofstede. Geert Hofstede's dimensions describe the effects of a society's culture on the values of its members, and how these values relate to behavior, using a structure derived from factor analysis. There are 5 different dimensions that his theories cover. Power distance exhibits the fact that not all individuals in society have equal power. Power distance, therefore, is known as the extent to which the less powerful members of a group, organization, or society within a country expect and accept that power is not distributed equally amongst everybody. Switzerland is a society that believes that inequalities amongst people should be minimized as much as possible. In other words, power is decentralized and managers count on the experience of their team members. Uncertainty avoidance, or risk tolerance, focuses on how society copes with absence of certainty surrounding future events, often leading to the question of whether or not one should try to control the future or let it happen as it may. Switzerland has a stronger preference for trying to control the future and thus avoid uncertainty. This means Swiss citizens have an emotional need for rule that values time, money, and hard work. Switzerland is a country that values individualism and operates under a loosely knit social framework where individuals are expected to only take care of themselves and their immediate families. In terms of employment, the employer-employee relationship is seen as a mutually beneficial contract rather than the establishment of long-term teams. So while Switzerland's professional work in teams, they do not forfeit individual goals in favor of teamwork. Switzerland is a country characterized by a masculine culture. A masculine work environment is typically viewed as a dog-eat-dog world with the use of cutthroat tactics to be the winner. Managers are expected to be decisive, and the environment's emphasis is on competition, equity, and performance, with conflicts usually being resolved through adversarial rather than collaborative processes. Switzerland has a short-term orientation, meaning that the country generally exhibits a relatively small propensity to save, strong social pressure, impatience for achieving quick results, and a strong concern with establishing the truth. Richard Jesselin's extensive international business experience has allowed him to isolate 5 general patterns of cross-cultural business behavior that provides valuable information for expats. Switzerland is recognized as a country that is relationship-focused rather than deal-focused. Initial professional encounters are formal, but after a relationship is established, the focus shifts to one about the relationship rather than about the actual business deal. While this seems to contradict with its masculine culture, these two dimensions mesh in a way that creates a country with a very unique and attractive business model. Having a formal business culture is something important to Switzerland. Efficiency is highly valued in the professional setting, and business meetings are generally formal in their structure, and discussion is restricted to predetermined topics. Switzerland is one of the few countries that has monochromatic cultures. Monochromatic cultures involve societies in which punctuality is critical, schedules are set in concrete, agendas are fixed, and business meetings are rarely interrupted. Switzerland is generally courteous but reserved. Loudness, excessive enthusiasm, and overfamiliarity are all considered improper at the start of a business relationship in Switzerland. As far as business relations, Switzerland generally has a low-context communication style, which emphasizes the meaning of words rather than the context of those words. Part 3. Expat Advice. Now that we have given you an extensive overview of Hofstede's and Jesselin's dimensional analysis of culture, we want to simplify what it all means and how it relates to your decision on taking an international assignment to Switzerland. Matt and Zan have graciously offered to answer some general questions about their experiences.
So Matt, how would you characterize your Swiss colleagues?
Well, it was a really great experience working with the Swiss people over when I was visiting. They are above average for their productivity. They're extremely nice. Teamwork is effortless. I just would characterize them as great people.
Zan, what do you think about Switzerland's work-life balance?
It's interesting you bring that up. The Swiss, as of now, enjoy 4 weeks paid vacation. Recently, there was legislation put up to the test pushing for 6 weeks. Interestingly enough, 65% of all Swiss voted down that legislation. The reasoning for that was it would put Switzerland at an economic disadvantage. So they're happy with 4 weeks vacation.
Matt, do you think Switzerland is business friendly?
I actually think it's extremely business friendly. In fact, one of the only 2 ways to gain citizenship in Switzerland is by opening a business.
Zan, how would you describe labor management relations in Switzerland?
Labor management relations in Switzerland are amicable. Unlike other nations, especially in the West, the view on organized labor isn't hostile. In fact, alternative dispute resolutions are quite common in Switzerland.
Thanks for watching. For additional resources, check out these awesome links.